Welcome to History with Herodotus, where the boundaries of time and space are bridged by the power of storytelling. Today, we embark on a journey to the Pacific theater of World War II, to an island that would become a crucible of conflict, a testing ground for the mettle of men and the strategies of war. We find ourselves on the cusp of exploring one of the most pivotal battles in modern history, the Battle of Guadalcanal. In the vast expanse of the Pacific, where millions upon millions of waves have caressed the shores of countless islands, there lies a place that was destined to become a threshold of history. Guadalcanal, with its lush rainforests and sweeping coastlines, stood as an unassuming sentinel, unaware of the tumultuous events that would soon unfold upon its soil. To grasp the essence of this battle, we must first delve into the tapestry of events that led to this momentous clash. The year was 1942. And the world was ablaze with conflict. The Japanese Empire, under the stewardship of Hideki Tojo, had been expanding its dominion over East Asia and the Pacific with unyielding ferocity. As the Japanese military continued its relentless march across the Pacific, capturing strategic outposts and islands with alarming speed, the Allies found themselves on the back foot. The fall of Singapore, the surrender of the Philippines, and the Battle of the Coral Sea all served as stark reminders of the formidable challenge that lay ahead. It was against this backdrop of uncertainty and urgency that the United States began to formulate a strategy to counter the Japanese advance. In May 1942, Admiral Chester Nimitz, Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Fleet, and General Douglas MacArthur, Supreme Commander of the Southwest Pacific Area, converged on a plan to secure the island of Tulagi, which was part of the Solomon Islands chain. The strategic importance of this location cannot be overstated. It offered a potential foothold for the Allies in the Pacific, as well as control over the vital sea lanes that crisscrossed the region. However, intelligence reports soon indicated that the Japanese were constructing an airfield on Guadalcanal, the largest island in the Solomons. This development dramatically altered the calculus of war, as an operational airbase on Guadalcanal would grant the Japanese unparalleled control over the skies and seas of the South Pacific, placing Australia and New Zealand under direct threat. The decision was made to seize Guadalcanal, along with Tulagi and the nearby Florida Islands, in a bold amphibious assault. This operation would require meticulous planning, precise execution, and an unyielding commitment from the men who would carry it out. The men who would soon find themselves locked in combat on Guadalcanal's sun-scorched beaches and within its dense jungles came from vastly different worlds, each carrying their own unique experiences, fears, and aspirations into the heart of battle. The Japanese forces, under the command of Lieutenant General Harukichi Hyakutake, were driven by a complex mix of patriotism, duty, and a belief in the invincibility of their military. They had been told that the capture of Guadalcanal was essential to securing the empire's southern perimeter and protecting the home islands from potential Allied attacks. Meanwhile, the Allied forces, primarily composed of American Marines from the 1st Marine Division, were fueled by a determination to halt the Japanese advance, secure a strategic foothold in the Pacific, and bring the fight to the enemy. Led by Major General Alexander Vandegrift, these men would soon face challenges that would test their resolve, their training, and their very humanity. As the Allied forces prepared to launch their assault on Guadalcanal, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation and trepidation. The 1st Marine Division, spearheaded by the 5th Marines, began landing on the northern coast of Guadalcanal on August 7, 1942, at 9:10 a.m., marking the beginning of the Battle of Guadalcanal. The initial waves of Marines encountered minimal resistance as they poured onto the beaches, but it soon became apparent that the Japanese were not about to relinquish their foothold without a fierce struggle. The first major objective for the Marines was to secure the airfield, which would later become known as Henderson Field. This strategic prize was the key to controlling the skies above Guadalcanal and providing air support for the Allied forces. The 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, led by Lieutenant Colonel Leroy P. Hunt, pushed forward with alacrity, overcoming pockets of Japanese resistance as they advanced towards the airfield. By the end of the first day, the Marines had secured a tenuous hold on the airfield, but they knew that the Japanese would not give up easily. As night fell on August 7th, the Marines dug in around the airfield, bracing themselves for the inevitable counterattack. The Japanese, indeed, were planning a swift and decisive response to the Allied landing. Lieutenant General Harukichi Hyakutake, commander of the Japanese 17th Army, ordered his troops to launch a series of attacks against the Marine positions with the aim of driving them back into the sea. The first of these counterattacks came on the night of August 8-9, as Japanese troops from the 28th Infantry Regiment launched a frenzied assault against the Marine lines. The fighting was intense and chaotic, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. One of the most iconic moments of the Battle of Guadalcanal occurred on the night of August 12-13, when a group of Japanese soldiers, armed with grenades and bayonets, launched a banzai charge against the Marine positions. The attack was repelled, but not before the Japanese had inflicted significant casualties on the Marines. As one Marine officer later recalled, "The Japs came at us like a swarm of bees, screaming and yelling. It was a nightmare that I'll never forget." This kind of ferocious fighting would become a hallmark of the Battle of Guadalcanal, as both sides clashed in a series of brutal and devastating engagements. As the battle raged on, the Marines continued to consolidate their hold on the airfield, while the Japanese launched repeated counterattacks in an effort to dislodge them. On August 18th, a battalion of Japanese troops, led by Colonel Kiyono Ichiki, landed on the eastern coast of Guadalcanal with the aim of attacking the Marine positions from the rear. However, the Marines were aware of the Japanese plan and had set up an ambush along the Tenaru River. The resulting battle was one of the most one-sided engagements of the war, as the Marines cut down the Japanese troops with withering machine gun fire and artillery bombardments. As the battle along the Tenaru River subsided, the Marines continued to fortify their positions around Henderson Field, transforming it into a formidable airbase that would play a crucial role in the subsequent phases of the campaign. The Japanese, however, refused to relinquish their claim on Guadalcanal, and on August 20th, they launched a series of air raids against the Marine positions, hoping to weaken their grip on the island. These attacks were met with fierce resistance from the Marines, who had by now established a robust air defense system, replete with anti-aircraft guns and fighter planes. The next major Japanese attempt to retake Guadalcanal came in mid-September, when a large force of troops, led by General Kawaguchi, landed on the western coast of the island. This assault, known as the Battle of Edson's Ridge, was marked by intense fighting, as the Marines clashed with the Japanese in a series of brutal and bloody engagements. The Japanese ultimately emerged, defeated, having suffered heavy casualties, but not before they had inflicted significant losses on the Marines. As the battle for Guadalcanal raged on, the United States began to pour more troops and resources into the campaign, determined to secure a decisive victory. In October 1942, the 64th Infantry Regiment, part of the Americal Division, arrived on the island, followed by the 182nd Infantry Regiment in November. These reinforcements allowed the Marines to expand their perimeter, pushing the Japanese back towards the western coast of Guadalcanal. The final major battle for Guadalcanal took place in January 1943, when a combined force of Marines and soldiers launched a series of attacks against the remaining Japanese positions on the island. The fighting was fierce, but ultimately, the Allies emerged victorious, having secured control of Guadalcanal after months of brutal and debilitating combat. As General Alexander Vandegrift later reflected, the Battle of Guadalcanal was a turning point in the war, marking a shift from defensive to offensive operations for the Allies. It was a testament to the bravery and resilience of our troops, who fought against overwhelming odds to secure a crucial victory. The battle had indeed been a watershed moment in the Pacific War, as it halted the Japanese advance and paved the way for the Allied counterattack. Today, the Battle of Guadalcanal is remembered as one of the most pivotal engagements of World War II, a brutal and devastating conflict that claimed the lives of thousands of soldiers on both sides. It was a battle that tested the mettle of the United States military, pushing its troops to the limits of human endurance and beyond. The bravery, sacrifice, and perseverance of those who fought on Guadalcanal will never be forgotten, serving as a powerful reminder of the enduring spirit of courage and determination that defines us as a nation. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.